Hello, and welcome to the As You Are podcast. My name is Leslie Vandergans. I'm the founder of Enso Coaching and Consulting, and I am joined today with Libby Detling and Kathleen Fletcher, two of our amazing coaches, and our super special guest today, Tyler Mount from Henry Street Creative. Hello, Tyler.
Hi, ladies. Thank you for having me.
We're so excited to have you. So we thought we would just start with, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Henry Street Creative.
Yeah, I feel like this is a job interview.
Well,
it is.
You're with the best job interviewers.
That's right. I'll let you know how you do at the end.
I'm like, I wish I knew someone who could help get me better at job interviewing.
I don't know anyone.
I'll have to find someone. Well, thanks for the kind intro, Leslie, Kathleen, and Libby. I have a unique path, but I feel like that's what's interesting about most humans. I don't think anyone here today had a traditional path to get where they are. I grew up as a performing artist. I was a Broadway-bound boy. I was fortunate enough to work on Broadway as a stage manager for about 5 years when I moved to New York City in 2013. And then I started to fall in love with the idea of content development and content production. And, I had been, as many people in the performing arts industry, been, faced with my fair share of rejection time and time again. And I kind of got to the point where I was like, I'm going to stop waiting for permission. I don't need a casting director's permission. I don't need a director's permission to create and to build something. And so I started at the time what I thought to be a funny little web series that accidentally changed my life. This web series was me and a famous Broadway star sitting on my couch. 160 episodes later, over the course of 5 years, we were sending that to over 1 million people every single month in 168 countries. After it was acquired by Playbill, the Broadway legacy brand. I was there for about 3 years, and then I transitioned to corporate America, where I oversaw digital strategy, specifically in the realm of performance marketing and digital marketing for NBC Universal, their lifestyle and Hispanic portfolio. And then I transferred back to where I started my career, which is real estate, where I worked for a premier developer here in the city. And then through one thing or the other, I did a small project and a small stint on the Biden-Harris campaign, brought him through the 2020 election. And then I accidentally started my company, which is now Henry Street Creative, where I do digital marketing and social strategy for, thankfully, some of the leaders of industry, from Fortune 100 CEOs to the President of the United States.
And small fries.
And individuals and entrepreneurs just like you and me. And I've been fortunate enough to really harness that power from working with the CEO of T-Mobile or the CEO of Twitter or the CEO of Zillow, right? Really finding how we harness personal brand, whether you're a multimillionaire or you're starting business today, how we can leverage these philosophies in order to grow your business through the lens of authenticity.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Okay, quick question. Henry Street Creative, tell us a little bit about that title or the name of the company and where it came from.
Yeah, I mean, look, we were just looking for a name because I started the company as Tyler Mount Ventures because I just needed an LLC name, right? Because at the time I was just going to have 2 clients, right? And I needed an entity. Little did I know, in 6 months I'd have 36 full-time employees, and it really started to become strange that the company was named after me. It's not what I wanted, believe it or not. Those who know me know I love some attention.
But not that. Yeah.
Yes, correct. And so, look, we changed the name. I wish I had some prolific answer, Leslie, but the honest truth is the first commercial I shot with my team was on Henry Street in Brooklyn. But most importantly, the mascot of the company, my 65-pound golden doodle's name is Henry. And so we decided to name it Henry Street Creative, and I feel good about it now. We're too far deep, right? So that's my novel concept as to why Henry Street Creative.
I think it's a great story.
Yeah.
So good for you.
Echo.
Put your dog in there.
I know. Okay, so can we back up and go back to the couch when you're creating this content or working with this Broadway star? When you're kind of going through the motions of this, did you say 166
episodes?
Yeah, I had I probably did like 165.
165. Okay, 165 episodes. Like, talk to us a little bit about what you learned about yourself in that process.
Well, I think it's interesting. Growing up in small town Texas, going to school in Austin, obviously that's my original connection to everyone here on today's episode. I think we're all on a journey of self-discovery. If at the time, the people who know me now and have only known me post-college, they would be like shocked to find that I was allegedly straight with a girlfriend who is now my best friend and the managing director of Henry Street Creative. And we dated for 4 years and we moved to New York City together. And it wasn't until I was in New York City, I was like, oh no, I like boys. I definitely am gay. And to think that if you would have told 2008, 2009 Tyler that you're actually going to make a career and you're actually going to be celebrated for living your authentic truth versus having to hide it in order to get ahead, I would have never believed you. And so this process really was spurred and elevated when I said, I'm going to stop trying to be who I think people want or need me to be. And I'm going to just be authentically who I am. And anyone who knows me at my core, I've always been a Broadway loving boy. Like, that's just who I am, right? I know every single person who's played Elphaba. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like that obsessed. And the idea that I was hiding that when there are millions of people, specifically young people around the world, sitting in their bedrooms in small town Texas, listening to the cast recordings of Rent and Wicked, wanting to be a part of something bigger. I was that for them accidentally. And this was before the word influencer. Yeah. I remember the New York Times name drop.
Yeah,
okay.
Oh my God.
I remember the Times calling me Broadway's biggest star you've never heard of. And it was a real aha moment that I was like, oh, I'm actually doing something that people care about. And it was all based on me being true to who I am. And I really tried to push the narrative that you can be celebrated for who you are, no matter who that is.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So, okay, so let's go granular. Like, what was that? What did that process look like for you? Like, how did you come to a place where you're like, I need to stand for authenticity?
At some point, I realized I didn't really have a choice, right? All too often, we're constantly trying to play the part of what someone else wants you to be,
100%.
or what you think, even worse, society wants you to be, when in reality, there's someone out there being that person you're acting like authentically, and they'll always win, right? Anyone who tries to be Tyler and have Henry Street Creative and a Broadway vlog, with all due respect, you'll never do it as good as me,
right?
Because I'm the only Tyler, right? I'll never have the skill set that any of the three of you have, right? Specifically. And you'll always be yourselves better than I could ever attempt to be. And so it came from a place of necessity versus specific decision. And then it's obviously harder at the beginning whenever you have no feedback from quote unquote consumers or the market. I was doing this alone in my living room while 3 people watched, right? There was no validation.
Yeah.
Much easier when you have people screaming your name in Broadway houses, right? It's easier to be like, oh, I don't care your opinion. I don't know, old Republican man in Kansas City. Like, I don't really care about your opinion because I'm doing what I love and other people love it, right? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you feel that, the better you feel. The more you do, the better you get, right? Yeah. So that's kind of how I look at it.
I love that. Okay, so when you're working with clients, how do you pull or help them find their authentic self as you're kind of building this brand work around them?
Well, if anyone knows me, they know that I'm like incredibly blunt, like to a detriment. I'm never trying to be rude, but I'm like, I'll always give you my opinion and it will come out of my mouth before I'm done. And I think like that's one of my superpowers, also one of my biggest, nemesis.
Opportunities for improvement.
Yeah. Oh, yes, that's what we love.
For improvement, because, my clients can always trust that I, especially coming from my previous career, like I am not starstruck truly by anyone. Unless you are Oprah Winfrey, I would lose my mind. Like Beyonce, Taylor Swift, whoever, I'm like, cool, you're a human being and let's get down to it. And I think my ability to be unbiased and be like, this is how I see you, and this is how I bet a lot of consumers see you. Does that feel good? Great, then let's pursue that. Does it not feel authentic? Does it not feel good? Then let's redirect. Let's pivot. And so ultimately, once we decide if we need to pivot or if we're going to stay the course, what we really start to focus on is, what I call your differentiator, right? There are a million executive coaches. There are a million marketing agencies. There are a million, insert any job, job title here. Your ability to do that job doesn't make you special. The value and the intrinsic ethics you bring to the profession is what really matters. So it's my job to find out what that is, what your differentiator is, and harness that and ignite it.
I love it. I love it.
I love, there's something I wanted to talk with you about is just this concept of authentic connection. And you had posted something on LinkedIn that I think I sent to every single one of my clients. I was like, get in here. And it's about, connecting with people authentically. You and I did it. We knew each other for a long time, but had not really connected in a while. And then you had reached out to me and you did it in this very authentic way that I appreciated so much. And, you made this post about authentic connection and not, yours was kind of from the perspective of real estate agents, but not, please don't send cards with, a stock picture of a wreath on it and, saying happy holidays or whatever. And I've kind of brought the same thing to my candidates saying, please stop messaging hiring managers, asking them for, I applied for this job. Please hire me, without giving any kind of why should they give you anything? Why are you asking for things? And that's kind of what you had spoken to. And I just wanted to, have you talk a little bit more about that and how you approach that with your clients and how you use that in this, this world of come authentically. Don't just ask
Digital
people.
Everything, AI everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look, I always try to lead. Obviously, the key word here today is authentically.
Yes.
And I often feel in industry and candidacy for industry, I often find that there is always a tinge of desperation. And let me explain what I mean. I always say desperate is not castable in the arts.
Yeah.
Desperate is not sellable in business. And desperate is not dateable.
Oh,
okay?
sure isn't.
And yet I'm all three. Yeah, I love it.
If you are knocking down my door, Zac Efron, I am not interested.
No.
I guess I would be. Never mind. But like most people know. And in all seriousness, oftentimes, whenever we're applying for candidacy or we're applying for jobs, that's exactly what it comes from.
Yeah.
I am doing A to get B. And if you ever approach business by doing A to get B, you're never going to get B. And if you do, it's a coincidence. And so truthfully, I changed my business and I changed my life when I said, I am done selling. And that was the biggest aha moment. And there are sales managers and there are sales coaches out there that are absolutely losing their mind when I say I'm not selling anymore. But let me tell you, I doubled my income month over month for the past 120 days by saying I'm no longer selling. And it's this approach that you just mentioned, Libby.
Yeah.
Libby liked something that I posted on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I said, if Libby cares enough to read my post and like it, I certainly care enough to reconnect, right? I've known Libby for a decade plus. Makes me a little nauseous.
Nuh-uh, we're just teens, fresh teens in our careers.
I've known you since I met you in 8th grade.
That's right.
Yeah. So ultimately, I believe truthfully, and my track record proves it, okay, that if I connect with people authentically, not for an ulterior motive, and then I follow through on not having an ulterior motive, that really changes the narrative and changes the game. My philosophy is that lighting someone else's candle does not extinguish your own. And so when I met with you, Libby, and you can testify that there was no action item after that. I wasn't like, and if you're looking to coach with me, please click this link, right? I literally was like, how can I help you? And I didn't do that to get on this podcast. I didn't do this to do X, Y, and Z.
Did you know?
Social climber.
Yeah.
I did it because I I'm an extrovert. I love connecting. I sit at my desk all day connecting with people who pay me to connect with them. And don't get me wrong, I love it. I love my clients. But my ability to affect change in people's lives for free with no ulterior motive and nothing expected in return is what has actually made me more money than I could ever imagine.
I love it. It's so good.
It's adding value. I mean, that's what you do, right? Is you add value to people's life. I mean, I'll give an example. You know, when Tyler and I also reconnected, you know, one of the very first things that you did, Tyler, was send me an email to say, hey, I've got some feedback on your newsletter. Can I share that with you? Are you comfortable with that? And I was like, please.
Oh my God, yes.
Do.
Yeah.
You know, and again, this is coming from somebody who's an expert in that space. I have no idea. You know, we have no idea what we're doing, you know, from a PR branding standpoint. And you know, you share that value for nothing. It was just a value add, and all that does is it makes me feel like, who can I get in front of Tyler? Who are the people that he could add value to? Who do I know that could be in relationship with him? You know, and again, there's no strings attached. There's no, you know, other than a true, authentic relationship. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I was like, Leslie, I need to promote you. So like now if you go to Henry Street Creative or tylergmount.com, Enzo is right there, front page, right? As our official partner.
So
right?
sweet.
Why? Because the idea that I can't promote, an advocate and be champions of other people's business, because this idea that it will take away from my business is the biggess misnomer.
Absolutely.
I do not do what you do. I have zero desire to do what you do, mostly because I wouldn't be good at it. I mean, like, sit down, let me do it.
Move over.
You know what I mean? But I'm like, if I can be a champion for other people's businesses, not expecting them to be champions of mine, that feels really good, if nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I want to go back to authenticity for a second. One of the things that you talked about is helping, obviously, leaders and business owners find kind of their true authentic identity, and then really pulling that out and letting that be kind of the center of the work that you're doing with them, just the PR, the branding, the digital marketing, all of those things. How do you pull that out of somebody who's maybe a little bit more afraid of really being their authentic self? And have you come across, any clients that are struggling a little bit with that?
I mean, of course, the answer is I would say almost 100% of my clients struggle with that. That's why they're here. And, I compare the idea that I'm not only going to push you politely and gently, okay, to get there, but I'm also going to do it with you. This isn't a conversation of go run the race. It's let's run the race together. And so I find that people don't give up on you and are able to go to that space a little bit quicker when you're like, I'm here, right? And the conversations I've had, the learnings, the aha moments, as Oprah would say, right? My queen, right? I find this to be remarkable. I've had grown women married with children come out to me as lesbian because they're like, I have to live my truth. And I'm like, I'm not in charge of that. Okay. Mm-hmm. But like, if that is who you are and that's the authentic, narrative you want to live, then I'm here to help you do that. Right. Mm-hmm. I'm not here to judge if you are or not. Right. And so ultimately I come from a place of vulnerability. I come from a place of really trying to share who I am authentically. And then I find that allows my clients to open up in ways that maybe they previously wouldn't with another coach or a mentor. So it's all about saying, I'm in the boat with you. We're going to row together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like there's so much power in that. When you're able to be in that vulnerable place with someone and even show them, I know as a career coach, as you're looking at, resumes and helping someone in a way, yes, brand themselves is, being side by side with them, showing them that that it's hard, what you've come across, like stories of, things you've seen and mistakes you've made. Mm-hmm. And that really, I think, helps to create that vulnerability.
Create a lot of space.
Oh, yes.
I'm a big believer in modeling behavior too. So it's like if this is something that's brand new to them and don't even sure how to start, that if you're able to model that, show that they're safe, especially when we're talking about authenticity, that it's like you can only be you. There's no wrong. And to see that before you and to bear witness to that is, again, I think really powerful. And then the hope is always then you take that once you leave the boat and then you join someone else in a boat and then you get to have an ocean full of boats of authenticity.
Oh, I love that ocean.
Yeah,
Oh.
me too. We're just going to run with the metaphor a little bit.
That's so good. That's so good. Okay, so Tyler, in your business right now, like what are the biggest challenges that you're facing?
I mean, me personally, is time. It's time management. And everyone here who knows me knows I am the most process-oriented type A human being on earth. Like, I am so efficient. I am so quick to the detriment of any type of accuracy in my life, right? But what I will tell you is, again, not to be annoying, but to put it into perspective, I took 73 meetings last week, Monday through Friday.
Mm-hmm.
That is not sustainable. And it's tough because I'm not in meetings that I don't need to be in, right? I am in either calls with paying clients or I'm in meetings for new business. And when I'm the person who closes because you're buying Tyler, okay, I have to be in the meeting. And then I actually have to fulfill the service I provide by taking the meeting weekly. And so what I have found is an incredible disconnect between my ability to service my clients effectively while having the time I need to run a business. And I love delegation, right? My managing director, also my ex-girlfriend, does all of the contracts, all of the finances, project manages, and does everything with clients except for take the call. I have an entire design staff and design team who does all of that type of work. I have a Rolodex of contractors who work for us full-time in different varying aspects. But at the end of the day, similar to like a lawyer, if my time is what's billable, there's only so much time.
Right.
So scaling is quite difficult in this scenario without burning yourself out. So when I say I'm back to back, you hear that quite often, but I sit at my desk at 7 a.m. I'm back to back from 8 a.m. to 7, like literally back to back. And then I try to work afterwards. So ultimately, I'm not complaining, like this is my own issue to solve. But if I had a clear solution, I would have already solved it. So here I am, back to back. Right when we're done with this, I have another meeting right after you. You can guess that if it's a time of the day, I'm in a meeting.
It's amazing. And awful.
Is it?
I know.
And awful.
Like, amazing.
It's like a great problem to have.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that entrepreneurial thing, right before you get to the place where you're really leveraged the ouchie spot.
I guess. But I think also a nice thing to be cognizant of so that it's not just like, I'm at burnout. How did I get to burnout? That it's like you can see what's leading to that and seeing it too is not like, because I think a lot of people would take that and say it's a strength that I'm going back to back to back. And there is a truth to that, but that ultimately in the long run, it is an issue to be solved. It's not necessarily sustainable for your whole life.
Right. And
I think that's a good point, Kathleen. I think what's remarkable here is I think there's a direct correlation between the intersection of burnout and passion. And I think no matter how passionate you are about something, you will get burned out.
Totally.
Right? The body needs rest. But I will also say that I've been burned out many times in my career, and I will continue to be at some point. But I will tell you, at the end of the day, I don't feel traditional burnout like I have in corporate America. That's because I didn't have passion for what I was doing and I had no invested stake. If I was killing myself, I made the same amount of money as if I wasn't. Right. So I feel like that is a primer for burnout. In this scenario, I'm tired and I don't have as much free time as I'd like. But at the end of the day, I log off and I'm like, damn, I did a lot today.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there's a very slight differentiation. And I also get value from being busy. A lot of people don't, and I don't blame them, So I think it's all very fluid.
I mean, it's a season. And basically what I'm hearing is you're going to be really busy for a while, make all your millions, and then the Tyler Mount vlog is coming back. Is that what I heard?
Starting it now.
That's the goal.
Heard it here
I
first.
mean,
Yeah.
obviously.
Well, and what I heard you just say, Tyler, is that you're, right now with the passion, you're really aligned from a value standpoint, right? There are things that are important to you, the relationships that you have, the connections you have, what your your time investment into yourself and into your business and that growth there. These are all things that are true values to you. And I think what ends up happening when we get to that burnout place is when humans are out of alignment with some of the things that are truly valuable to them. They're not leaning into some greater vision for themselves and working for somebody or something else that is not a true passion area can, for the first little bit of time, like we can be aligned from a tactical standpoint, but if the mission or if there are some bigger picture things that are out of alignment, those things more quickly get us to that burnout space.
I kind of want to run with burnout. Sorry, to just be like, let's do all the metaphors a little bit longer. But what you said early on about lighting someone else's candle doesn't extinguish yours, like, oh, that's so beautiful. But I think if it's not something you're passionate about, continuing to light someone else's candle, you are draining your own fuel. Where like, if it is something that brings you passion, that fuel is inside of yourself, and that's how that burn can continue on.
Nice metaphor.
I know.
Well done.
Tyler started it off. Yeah. Well,
I am here for a metaphor.
me too. But see, it's so easy to light the candles of everyone else here because I'm so passionate about metaphors.
Candles and boats.
Exactly.
Here.
Don't combine them though, because that'll be a fire.
Yeah, bad news bears. Well, and Tyler, the other thing that you kind of talked a little bit about is, again, the season that Libby had kind of mentioned is, you're in this place of growth right now. If you're on 73 calls, 73 phone calls, right, in a week, there's this kind of period of growth. And have you been, let me just ask you this question, have you been in that level of intensity around your business before?
Yes. And I got to burn out because I wanted to die every day.
Yeah.
Yes. When I was overseeing Tyler Mount Ventures, I had the best team. I adored them. Truthfully, it was just so much to manage because not only was I doing the work I was doing, but then I was desperately trying to manage a lot of staff.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm not even going to sit here and say I did it perfectly. I certainly didn't. And that's why at the beginning of this year, 2023, we said, look, we're going to transition to a consultancy and a marketing agency model, which is 2-tier, right? Business consultancy, which is what I do most days. And then my design and development team does all of the first class assets. So think like website, newsletter, logo, video, social. And so we've separated them and hired teams on a project basis, which allows us to have more control and our staff to have more control at the same time. So the answer is absolutely yes. If you asked me last October, I would have been like running ragged. Now it's the same intensity of workload, but in a very different place that I feel like I have more control over.
That's amazing. And that's what we do, right? As we go through these seasons of growth, we figure out what the solution is or how do we get to kind of the next space. And this is just where you are again, right? In this like period of growth. And then what's next? How do we sustain it? How do we create systems and models so that things can be more manageable?
Absolutely.
So talk to us a little bit about your team. How do you think about culture? How do you think about building your team? What does that look like for you?
Look, it is a ever-moving target. It is something that is, in my opinion, increasingly difficult virtually. I don't have a brick and mortar, and that's by purpose. I did that so I could hire who I wanted nationally. And culture is a really like macro word. Right? What does it mean? A lot of people are like beanbag chairs and cold brew at the office. And I'm like, sure, that is culture to some degree.
Right.
But work-life balance, that really dirty, gross, phrase. It's also how I, as a leader, inspire and show up for my team. It's how I give them grace and kindness, right? And look, I am to the point. But my biggest weakness, truthfully, is having a really, really really big heart and a really guilty conscience, anytime I'm not giving everyone $1 million raises, right? And what I have learned is separating the business from the personal, including the fact that a lot of my good friends have or currently do work for me. You know, I try to show up fairly. I try to go above and beyond. And I think that's what's really, really, really telling. Like, we had really strict corporate procedures in place when I had Tyler Mount Ventures because we had so many staff members. Now it's like, I don't care if you're in office, out of office, in Tahiti, you're taking 2 weeks off. Great. Is the work going to get done? Be my guest, right? Like, it really is. I want to show up every day and show everyone on my team that they're valued because they are, but most importantly, I've never been in a corporate job where I have felt that. And that is just as important as learning that about yourself in terms of what you weren't given as it is to know what you need to give. So ultimately in culture, I'm really trying to establish a solution-oriented, positive work environment that is, we're not curing cancer. I remind everyone that, like, let's calm down.
Oh, I love it.
This is someone social, like, truthfully. I have only been with one client who is a pediatric cardiologist. And she literally was like, I have to go. I have a code blue. And I was like, great, bye.
An actual client.
You're the only one.
I was like, other than that, we can all calm down. Right? And that's what I remind myself. And it's not about ego. It's not about being right. Our phrase here is get it off my desk, which is, if the client is adamant, if the client disagrees with you, they have every right to. It's their business. And we are here to facilitate their vision that is influenced by our strategy. And if our strategy doesn't influence them, but they still want product B, then so be it. We have done our due diligence. I feel ethically okay with that. Get it off my desk so we can work with a client who's ready to listen. And so ultimately, that's how we really, really focus on it. And my team knows they have my support. I will literally go to court for someone because I'm like an episode of Law and Order in the making.
Oh, I'm ready. Yeah.
That sounds great. Okay. Okay, Tyler, what's next? What's next for you guys? Like, what is the next phase of Henry Street Creative?
So right now we are really, really leveraging business consultancy, right? My very unique skill set, right, is so niche, but almost unmatched in terms of if there is a high ranking CEO, C-suite thought leader, who is the face or the brand of an organization, whether that is a Fortune 100 company or a new tech startup we have never heard of, right? Specifically in the realm of real estate, there are very few people with that level of expertise. Now, that pigeonholes me. I'm not saying any organization on earth should call me and hire me. But, you know, what I will say is leaning into that thing I know I'm good at, that thing I'm authentic in, is just doubling down there. I am all about living a high frequency life. This is my high frequency neon sign. This is my high frequency tattoo. I literally, every single day, no matter when a client calls and cancels or whatever it is, I go, all things are meant to be, all timing is perfect timing. And I try to ride this high frequency. So to answer your question, I know that greatness is here and will continue to appear. Do I know where I end up? No, because 10 years ago, I would have told you I knew. And I have been wrong every time. Every one of my clients has been wrong every time. The three of you have been wrong every time. And it's not about knowing where you're going. It's just literally driving with your headlights seeing 20 feet ahead, right? Yeah. And that's really important. But if I had to guess, it's a greater emphasis on business consultancy. It's a bigger influence and a bigger emphasis on thought leadership. And then my bread and butter, what gets me out of bed in the morning, is public speaking and being able to connect with people one-on-one. That is what I would describe as the perfect intersection and what I am naturally great at, the thing I love to do, and the thing I can do to make money. Performing arts wasn't that, because in case you didn't know, you make $0 in performing arts, right?
Oh yeah, we're all background, so
very aware.
Yep, we're like, cool, right? 7 weeks and $200.
Here we all are, just backgrounds in theater.
So that's what I feel really confident in. Yeah. Where I'm not sure, but like, is it going to be good and continue to be good? Yeah, because it always is.
Love that. Love that. Okay, where can people find out more about you? Where can they hire you for those public speaking gigs or to get you into the business consultancy?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to check out more about business consultants, if you want to check out more about me for business consultancy, public speaking, you can check me out at tylergmount.com. And of course, if you want to work with my team over at Henry Street Creative, you can find us at henrystreetcreative.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Tyler, for joining us, for coming as you are. We appreciate you so much. And thank you guys all for joining us. Remember, subscribe on all channels. And if you have any questions about Enso Coaching and Consulting, you can visit ensocc.com. Thank you, guys.